Welcome to the Gamers Inn. Come on in, pull up a chair next to the fire. It looks like you've had a long journey. I'm your host, Jocelyn, and joining me, as always, is my co-host, Ryan. Hello, Ryan.
Hello. Not for lack of trying on technology's part, though, right? Like
Oh,
they wanted us so badly to skip a week, and I'm like, no, it's not happening.
yeah.
I had to stop playing Uncharted 4 to do this, so we are doing it. It's happening.
Yeah, I have no idea why it was like if we were just having crazy ridiculous issues last night, guys. Like we tried for like 45 minutes trying to do the whole like what the heck is going on troubleshooting moments, and man oh man, it just wasn't working.
Yeah, and I don't know this is the thing that I'm doing right now to sum up. I don't know. Shrug. But besides technical difficulties, how's your week been, man?
If you take technical difficulties out of my week, then I wouldn't have a week left.
Oh,
That
nothing else
basically
happened.
nothing else happened except my week has just been full of trying to hook things up and troubleshooting and buying new cables and plugging things in all the holes. It's just been ridiculous. Like I can't I Ryan, I can't even.
You can't
I
even. Well,
can't
I
even.
then I won't even. We won't even get into it. Let's talk about something positive. And I think this episode, hopefully, just thinking forward, thinking a little bit. I think this episode is going to be much more positive than the week you've had and the night previous I had with all these technical difficulties, and then today too. But enough of that. Um, yeah, so what are we talking about today? I think we're going to talk about like a pirate guy who shoots things, maybe. This
Yes,
little game came out.
that was like the one good thing about my week is I did get to play Uncharted 4 and it is pretty freaking awesome. I have a couple of little issues with the game and actually it's good because this is my first ever foray into the world of Uncharted because I didn't have a PlayStation until PlayStation 4, so Uncharted 4 is like the start of it for me
Hmm.
because I didn't even get a PlayStation 4 like when they first came out sort of thing. So yeah, this is my first Uncharted. So the kind of issues that I have with the series, it'll be interesting for you to tell me if that's something that is like through all of the games or just this specific Uncharted title or what. So
Okay.
first of all, we should say like spoiler alert, guys, we're pretty much only talking about Uncharted 4 today. So if you haven't played Uncharted 4, like we're not going to go crazy into story blow by blow, play by
Right.
play, but we're going to talk about our initial impressions and where we are in the story and kind of what's going on and, you know, bits that we liked and whatever. So
Mhm.
just be aware that if you are thinking of picking up Uncharted 4 and you do want to remain spoiler free, now is the time to turn us off, probably for about 20 minutes or so.
Hmm.
We are talking Uncharted 4, and I am on chapter, we just looked it up, I'm on chapter 10.
Hmm.
And Ryan, you said you're right around the same spot?
I guess I didn't get that far because the locale you were describing, I'm not there yet. I think I'm maybe like chapter 7 or 8.
Okay.
Chapters move really weirdly in this game. Like they sort of, I don't remember getting to chapter 3, and then all of a sudden it starts to go at a steady clip. But yeah, I'm in Scotland right now, which I'm impressed. The visuals every time they switch locales, it's like okay, this is going to be another jungle because in previous Uncharted games, you would get pretty much the same locale across the game. Like the first one was set in an island, a jungle island. The second one was, had some snowy bits and some mountains. And then the third one had the desert, and that was sort of your experience. This one feels like every time they drop you in a new place, they've gone all out. So I'm not
Yeah,
as far.
it's definitely more of a varied environment. But I found it a little bit slow to start, and I think it's because I'm kind of comparing it to Tomb Raider because it just
Mm.
feels so Tomb Raider-ish. Like it's Tomb Raider with a dude on a different platform, you know? Like it's
Yeah.
PlayStation's version of Tomb Raider or Tomb Raider is Xbox's version of Uncharted, however you choose to look at it.
Yeah.
Like Tomb Raider, the original is still obviously kind of what was Uncharted was inspired by,
Yes.
but yeah, so that's like the comparison that is fresh in my mind, and I enjoyed Tomb Raider better
Hmm. Yeah.
because I feel like when you jumped into Tomb Raider, it was like you were already there, and it had varied environments, but like you were at the location. You know what I mean? There wasn't a whole lot of prologue.
Mhm.
This I felt like there was just, it took a long time to actually get anywhere.
Yeah, and I think the reasoning behind that, it's very different for the series. In the Uncharted, in 1, 2, and 3 of Uncharted, they sort of start off with a bang. And
Mm.
not that Uncharted 4 starts off with, you know, Nathan Drake waking up because someone says, "Hey, listen," it starts with a boat ride, kind of a flash forward kind of thing, which was really cool. And but previous Uncharted start with like the set piece.
Hmm.
Uncharted 2 is a great example. If you play like the first 30 minutes of Uncharted 2, you're getting an amazing set piece of a dangling train and teaching you how to climb, and Drake's not doing so hot. He's got a bullet to the chest. It's a really cool moment and probably one of my favorite in video games. So when Uncharted 4 rolls around, you have to remember that this game sort of comes after a trilogy of titles where Nathan Drake essentially retires.
Hmm.
And then Uncharted 4, if it just like dropped you back in, it would kind of be
It would
it
be
would
weird without some context. Yeah.
it would be a disservice to what happened in at the end of 3, where he kind of walks off to the sunset with his loved one and Elena. And in this game, they lay it on pretty thick. Like, you're right, it starts slow, and I agree, and they lay it on pretty thick that this is a retired Nathan Drake, and he is a kind of bored at home playing Crash Bandicoot, which was amazing. Uh,
I was wondering if how excited about that you were going to be. I thought that
it's
was
cool.
a cool little addition, I think. But I think more so even than just the story, I
Mhm.
found for the majority of, I would say, the first 5, maybe even 6 chapters, I found I wasn't playing the game. Like there were these like really, really, really long cutscenes,
Mhm.
and it made me think of Quantum Break and kind of the criticisms that were levied against that game, saying, you know, like, I don't want to put down my controller for 20 minutes and watch a TV show. It's like, well, I feel like I've done that more than once in Uncharted already. And it's not that the cutscenes are bad, but it's
Mhm.
just like little itty bitty action scenes really seem to break up the cutscenes for the first few acts of the game, which I was kind of like, oh, okay. Like, I really want to throw myself into Uncharted, and I feel like I'm not getting to do anything because it's just like all the cool stuff's being shown to me in cutscenes.
Yeah, and that's sort of the Uncharted way until you get to the set pieces, right? Where you're, I think I have, funny enough, where I am in the game, that hasn't happened yet. Like, we
Mm.
haven't hit the moment where there's the set piece. You have your climbing, you have your shooting areas, and then you have your set pieces, and that I think they showed it at E3 was one of the earlier set pieces. And I'm not going to spoil it. I've kind of gone cold turkey with this game, and that I haven't watched
Mm.
any trailers post the reveal and then the little piece of gameplay they showed at last year's E3. So it's been really interesting to sort of experience the story without having all the spoilers, and I know that, Nathan Drake's brother is there, but I didn't know the context as to, who he was and what his backstory is, which was really cool to experience without it being spoiled by marketing trailers,
Yeah.
right? And I, you know it is slower, and I'm hoping it ramps up. People are saying this is the best Uncharted, so obviously there's something there down the road that we're gonna get to, and it is certainly the best looking console game I've ever played, if not maybe close to the best PC game that was fun to play. So, because there are some pretty PC games, but oftentimes it's like, oh, it's space and it's 4X and it's pretty because it's a galaxy or something. But no, I think the cutscenes are fantastically acted, and
Oh, yeah.
sitting
Like I
there
said,
watching it's amazing.
like I am not knocking Uncharted
Hmm.
or the cutscenes or the content or anything. I just find it interesting that people are not even really talking about those big huge breaks in action, but it
Hmm.
was like the number one criticism of Quantum Break was the 20-minute TV show. Um and
Yeah.
so yeah, like I find it really interesting as someone who is brand new to the series and has never played Uncharted before, is I just like felt like I was sitting there for big chunks of time not doing anything.
I think that the writing in Uncharted 4 is a little snappier than it was in Quantum Break. Like, there was certainly good writing in Quantum Break, but in Uncharted 4 you've got that wit coming all the time from
Mm.
all the characters across the board. And it's just that writing style. Whereas in Quantum Break it was a much more serious video game, but when they did get quirky and witty and funny, it worked really well. And I think that's a big difference between the two, in that when you have a serious video game breaking for 20 minutes for more serious talk, it can kind of get a little degrading, especially when in between that you're shooting and having fun and doing combat. I think in Uncharted, you kind of give it a break because it's like, okay, this is funny characters interacting, and this is the first time I'm experiencing it, so I'm going to sit here and listen. Um, but yeah, no, it's still it breaks up the action in pretty big chunks where you're sitting there watching and waiting for the next thing. There's a lot of setup in Uncharted 4, which is both great and both kind of like, I've waited years for this. When are we going to get to the next like piece of Uncharted?
Yeah.
And you don't quite get there until, I don't know, like chapter 4 or 5, like a couple hours in.
It is a couple hours in, yeah, because you have the first scene, and honestly, I think the other thing that bothered me a little bit was that the controls I didn't feel like were as refined, I guess, as Tomb Raider.
Which is weird because it's the fourth one and they've used the same controls for 4 games, right?
Yeah, like, but I mean, I remember in the very, very first chapter where you have like the flashback to the orphanage or whatever, and there's the scene where you have to sneak by the nun by like rolling to cover. And I was just like, I couldn't get myself to like stick to the second piece of cover. So then I kept getting discovered, and like I had to do that scene over again, probably 8 times. And I was just like, okay, like I am this close to just giving up on this game because I just like the controls are really, really bothering me right now.
It's weird, right? Because in Tomb Raider and Quantum Break, Tomb Raider being the better example of automatic cover, you just kind of like you're doing the same thing in Uncharted. You're scrambling and then you're sticking to cover. But I think even if you don't scramble, you're still sticking to that cover. In Uncharted, I had the same issue where you have to, even if you roll towards the cover, you have to complete that stick motion with the cover button again.
Yeah.
And it's like it can kind of screw you up on occasion. And I've died a few times just like, oh, I meant to go into cover, but now I'm being shot at. And that's the thing about Uncharted, and this has been a criticism across the series, is that it's not the best shooting game. And that's unfortunate because that is a good chunk of the gameplay. And Uncharted 3 was very heavily criticized for that because it was kind of the most egregious offender when it came to just huge arenas of shooting dudes. And yeah, well, it's true, right? You go into the arena, a bunch of shooting dudes at you. And in this one, I feel like it's a little more balanced, and I don't mind the shooting because I've kind of gotten used to the way Naughty Dog portrays it. But you're right, like Tomb Raider nails it out of the park in terms of this type of game and the way shooting works. It just feels snappier. It feels like you're not missing. When you're missing, it's because of you. It's not because it feels like the game is kind of throwing you off. Which I have experienced that in Uncharted 4, where I'm like putting a clip into this dude, but I'm like painting an outline around him. It's like, I'm terrible at shooting games, so like, it doesn't mix
grain
well.
of salt, but at the same time, kind of frustrating. But yeah, like, I mean, controls aside, I am enjoying the game. I like the story. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I haven't been totally wowed by the story yet, but I kind of feel like that's par for the course with these kind of games. Like, they're pretty typical, I think, and it's pretty easy to tell what's gonna happen. Like, even with the brother and like the quote unquote death scene in the second chapter, and you're just like, but you don't actually ever see him like actually dead, and you're just like, well, he's coming back.
Well, the first scene is a flash forward, so you kind of figure like something bad happened here, but yeah, he's still he got shot a few times.
Well, and I didn't even realize who that was in the boat with me. So that could have been anybody.
To me, it was, and he's in the trailers, and it's kind of like, but it does explain really well why he's missing in the first 3 games.
Yes.
So for me, it was kind of like, who is this guy? Why wasn't he around? Like, is Nathan Drake just such a dick that he doesn't talk to his brother for 3 games, and all of a sudden he's like, hey, I'm back in town?
And there was a kind of like funny throwback moment to that too, when he first finds Drake again, and or I guess Sam finds Nathan, because they're both technically Drake, but Sam finds Nathan, and then like Nathan says like, oh, you should come over for dinner, and like I'll tell Elena about you. And he's like, oh my god, I have to tell Elena about you. And I'm like,
Yeah.
how has your like traumatic like dead brother story never come up before ever?
Yeah, that is a little odd, and I don't know. It's there's also that moment there where you're meeting your brother again for the first time after 15 years of him being imprisoned. I You have a choice to tell him about which adventure you went on, like
I
which
did
one
think
you
that
want to
that
tell.
was really cool.
Yeah.
And that combined with the scene in the attic where he's like finding all the old like
Hmm.
relics, I guess, of his
Yeah.
past journeys. I was kind of like, oh man, seeing all of this makes me really want to go and play the Uncharted games because I'd really like to see, finding El Dorado and just because that's the one I picked because that was the only one that I recognized. But yeah, it was really interesting.
It's the Uncharted remastered collection. It has all three games for PlayStation 4, and they hold up really well. Not one so much. Like one is you can kind of like Wikipedia it and maybe watch a couple YouTube videos.
Hmm.
But two and three are totally worth playing. Fantastic acting, fantastic set pieces, just more great Uncharted, and that's where they start to really nail the formula. So they're worth playing. But it was just in that moment where you're up in the attic and you're getting sort of the nostalgia trip was just like, oh man, I remember that, and I remember this, and oh, I can't. I wonder if there's going to be something from Shambhala. Oh, there is, and there's even like audio cues. It plays like the music that is so iconic. Like they would always remix Nathan Drake's theme for every game, and
Oh,
when you
okay.
yeah, so when you picked up like the Shambhala like postcard, it started to play that theme, and in my head, I'm like, oh wow, I clearly remember that from gosh, how long ago? Like 6 or 7 or 8 years ago.
So as
Um,
an Uncharted fan, like it is a really good kind of like throwback
yeah,
tribute kind of for the first couple of chapters, I guess.
it is, and that's why I think newcomers might come to this game and think, oh, this is a little slow, which it is because it's a nostalgia trip and also sort of an explanation as to okay, why are we thrusting Nathan Drake back into 18 chapters of almost dying?
Yeah.
Like that's the theme of Uncharted is just him being a mass murderer
Hmm.
and also almost dying in pretty extravagant ways, and him giving all that up for a life with Elena, right? Which is kind
Hmm.
of that typical video game walking into the sunset moment, and then to have it come back and kind of not be like, okay, we're not going to ignore that. We're going to address it, and it's going to be messy. I'm not at the messy part yet, but you know it's coming,
Yeah.
and it's interesting, and video games don't really explore that very much because usually in video games it's like, yeah, Master Chief is back and he's ready to finish the fight again, and no one's really worried. I mean, Cortana's gone a little wacko, but the Master Chief is still all right.
Yeah.
it's it's interesting to see a game sort of portray a beloved character in such a kind of a, even though again he was killing a bunch of people, they're kind of portraying him in a nasty sort of like rude, like he's clearly lying to his wife like
Yes.
consistently throughout the first 10
Yeah,
chapters for
which
sure.
which was something else that I thought was kind of interesting is that,
Mm,
like even though I'm from what I can gather, she's been with him on his three previous adventures, right?
yeah.
So I don't understand why he couldn't go to her with this.
Yeah,
And that just it seemed really really odd to me.
well, and in the first like couple chapters of the game, you are clearly seeing her say like, "Are you
You
bored?
Yeah,
Like,
you should go adventure. She's
you
like
should go
giving
do
him
the
permission, yeah.
Malaysia job." But
Yeah.
and I think he's just at the in three, he sort of experiences this moment because they sort of explore those themes in three, where he goes off on a job and then Helena sort of gives him crap about it, and I think they end up they'd broken up for a bit there. So they explore that relationship
Hmm.
in sort of a messy way again, and it's just it's always been interesting, even though again it is about a dude killing a bunch of other dudes. You kind of have
It's
to put
done in a
that.
very interesting way.
Yeah, and I'm looking forward to trying the multiplayer, which I dug in the previous titles, but I have not begun to scratch the surface. I'm just sort of starting with it. I'm
Yeah.
not very far, but I'm always looking for free time to play it because I want to see how it ends, and I don't want to be spoiled, and I
Yeah.
haven't been spoiled yet, and I know there's probably stuff that can be spoiled, so I'm very happy that the internet has been very good about that. I haven't had an instance like that yet, so
All
I'm
right,
excited.
so one final thought on Uncharted 4. I believe it's at the start of I think it's chapter 3.
Sure.
They put you into scuba diving equipment. Am I the
Mhm.
only one who had like PTSD from depth and thought that they were going to be attacked by a shark like the whole freaking time?
But see, that's the thing is like when I was doing that moment, I just kept and this is what they're doing. They're playing with your mind because this is like you fall in the water, you have a flashback, and then suddenly you're underwater and you're thinking like, oh man, what's going on? And uh, it's just they're trying to trick you into thinking like, okay, this is where Uncharted starts, but no, he's just a salvage guy. Like
Yeah.
he's tired. And I was with you. I was like trying to find treasure, and I did find a treasure.
I
Uh,
didn't because I was so sure that I was going to get attacked by a shark. I was like, I just need to get out of this scuba diving equipment like as soon as possible.
yeah, you kind of assume that something's gonna happen. You just think like, oh, this is Uncharted. He's in a exotic land, but no, he's in like New York or wherever the hell he is. But yeah, no, I thought that moment again plays really well with people like me who have played the game before or played the other games. But for people who haven't played it, would kind of play that, and it's like, well, what is this? This is not the Uncharted people keep telling me about. Like, where's the crumbling mountains and the sharks and the danger? You know?
Yeah. So that was kind of my freaky Uncharted moment, I guess. But I am enjoying it so far. And yeah, hopefully we'll be all done so we can have a full spoiler episode next week. Maybe.
Maybe. Maybe. I don't know if I'll have time to beat it, but I mean, are we gonna do like, are we gonna break the rule and do it during the show? We're not gonna try and do it inside the game? What are you doing, Jocelyn?
I don't know. We're okay. So actually, that's a good time to mention. Um, we do have inside the game, the pilot episode about Quantum Break is up on our YouTube. You can check it out. It's a little bit long. We realize that we're going to make some changes when we do kind of subsequent episodes. But if you would like to support us over at patreon.com/thegamersin, we would really appreciate it because our next goal is actually doing monthly episodes of Inside the Game. So
Mm,
we're not planning on doing any more Inside the Game content until we kind of hit that goal, but
yeah.
I'm excited about it. I think it was a cool experience. I really, really like going kind of deep into different story elements of games and kind of
Yeah.
all the different stuff because I mean within 1 hour of Gamers In it's really, really difficult to go over all of that stuff without making
Yeah.
it literally the only thing we talk about. So I know sometimes we've had, or more than sometimes, we've definitely had the comment in the past saying like, I love your show, but when you guys do one all about one specific game, then basically I miss my Gamers In for a week if I'm not playing that
Mhm.
game, and that kind of sucks. So we're trying to take our like deep in-depth look at some of these more story-oriented games into their separate show, but that is a Patreon goal. So we would really appreciate your support, and if you think that that is something that you would be interested in, we're going to take votes on what game it is that we cover for Inside the Game, so we're going to make sure that we're hitting the largest audience that we possibly can, and that is over
Mhm.
on patreon.com/thegamersin. So that is our Patreon ad for the night. We will just remind you guys actually right now
Mhm.
that we're going to do game night right after the show. So instead of talking about Patreon again after
Yeah.
our topic of the week, we'll just tell you right now we're going to roll right into game night. Also, we have a Discord server. If you guys aren't in there, you totally should be. It's super fun. We got a lot of cool people talking a lot of cool things about really either obscure or in-depth games. Like half the time I open that thing and I'm like, you guys, what are you even talking about right now?
There's been a lot of Everyone wants me to play Dark Souls, and I
Well,
don't know
it's
if they're
because
my
they
friends or
know
not, Jocelyn.
it's because they know that they're never going to convince me to do it. So you're the next best thing.
I want to, but you know, having suggested doing a special on Uncharted 4, I'm like, okay, I gotta beat that because I mean, you know, we're gonna still talk about Uncharted 4, but we're not gonna like go, like you said, go in depth or spoilerize the entire experience. But yeah, Dark Souls 3 is something people talk a lot about. And sometimes when I pop in there, I'm like, okay, this GIF's really weird, guys. We're gonna need to talk about the GIF rules here. No, it's been fine. Actually, most of the GIFs they post in there are quite hilarious. So
Yeah.
I
I
more
saw
GIFs,
I saw
please.
the one of like it was like beautiful architecture and it's like panning over. Was it from like Battleborn or something? And then there's like crazy spiders everywhere in the doorway, like trying to get in.
Ooh.
It was really funny. Anyways, yeah. So that is our Gamers in Discord, and
Mhm.
I don't have the link on me right now, but it's super fun, and you guys should come hang out. That's all I'm gonna
It's
say.
available to everybody too.
It
So
is,
it's
yeah.
it's the patrons just get exclusive access to a voice chat, and that's how we pull them into game night. So
Exactly.
mhm.
So our topic of the week this week is going to be Battlefield is going to be taking place in World War One, which is like the complete polar opposite to what Call of Duty has decided to do. With their new release, Infinite Warfare, they're going to space. And instead of being a first person shooter, it's like a spaceship flight simulator shooter.
Yeah, and also one would could argue had the inferior song cover
Oh,
with the
well,
trail.
anything that doesn't play Seven Nation Army in a trailer is inferior in my opinion. Because
Or Butcher's David Bowie. I mean, let's be honest. Like a lot of people were commenting, like that's a terrible cover of Space Odyssey. What do you like? Get the Chris Hatfield dude to do it. I know it's not as rocking, but no, I don't know. Looking at Battlefield One and then looking at COD Infinite Warfare, and yes, we're not going to get in the nitty gritty and like be the YouTube people like running dislike campaigns. I think it's interesting to look at these two products that are clearly facing each other and finally saying like, whoa, this might be the year I actually play both because they're different.
yeah,
Uh,
for so long, you're right. They have completely moved in parallel. And really, Call of Duty didn't have anywhere else to go because they've
yeah.
gone like modern, advanced, crazy tech, all the gadgets, futuristic warfare. Like, there's
Mhm.
nowhere else to go from there except for Space Wars.
And the funny thing is, I have COD Blops 3, as I like to call it, and I never beat it. I usually beat all the campaigns for Call of
Mm-hmm.
Duty because I enjoy those experiences, but I never beat that one. And I think the reasoning was it's just too fast. Like, I can't keep up with even the AI. It's shooting me too quickly. It's like just let's all slow down, people. And I look at Battlefield 1, and then I also look at the COD Infinite Warfare with the space battles and the whatnots. It looks like a little more slowed down and allows me to keep up with the action. Like with Infinite Warfare, there's some moments where you're like grappling people in space and tearing their oxygen masks off, which is brutally awesome and something you would never, never probably do because that's a terrible thing. And then you look at Battlefield 1, and it's this slower paced, based off of one of the most deadliest wars ever fought, and going to focus more on melee combat. Like you can use a shovel or like a weird spiked thing. It looked like a grenade, but I wouldn't swing a grenade like that against somebody so close. That'd be dangerous.
Yeah, I mean, I was a fan of Call. I am a fan of Call of Duty, but I was a much bigger fan of Call of Duty back when they were doing the World War II type stuff. I
Hmm.
find that a lot more interesting than the crazy futuristic stuff. I definitely will not be picking up this Call of Duty because I have zero interest in flying a spaceship and shooting at other people. Like it does not appeal to me at all. But I have literally never played a Battlefield, and this is probably the first one I'm going to pick up. So I don't know necessarily what that says about their audiences in general, but I feel like this time there's going to be people like you that pick them both up, but I think this is going to be a really polarizing experience, and some people are going to go like same as me, WTF
Yeah.
space, and others are going to go like WTF World War One. We've already done that, so I'm flipping over to
Mm.
COD. So it'll be really interesting to see how these do in the end.
Well, it's the funny thing is like a game set in World War I hasn't actually been done on this large a scale. Like
Mm-hmm.
obviously World War II comes close to the combat in World War I, but World War I was very like this. Like there's a great Wired article that talks about why World War I has never been done, and that is just this very brutal war where millions of people died and tens of thousands were dying and every day from sick, not even from like actual weapons, but from sickness and
Yeah.
trench warfare. And it will be interesting to see what Battlefield does with those concepts. In which does it just
You've got like a
do it?
disease meter that's just slowly going up.
Yeah,
If
it's
you
like
don't go to hospital and get inoculated, then you're just gonna die.
it's Far Cry 2 all over again.
Yeah.
We're like, oh, I don't have my malaria shots. What's grab? No, it'll be interesting to see like if they play in like in the campaign. Obviously, the multiplayer will just be very
Yeah.
balanced and have classes and stuff. But in the single player, they have an opportunity to kind of look at that war and explore just the harshness of it and treat it fairly in the way it needs to be treated. And it's really easy with World War II because you have the enemy, you have Hitler, you have what he
Yeah.
was doing, and you can kind of demonize it and go from there. But in World War One, it was a lot more messy, and you could kind of explore the fact that hey, tanks were there, but they were the only thing they were deadly to was the people they ran over, and when it broke down and exploded, like they didn't do a whole lot of damage. They were big and meaty, and it looks like they're gonna be great for trench warfare. But obviously we see it in the trailer. There's some mustard gas, and it's it'll be interesting to see what they do. I think the
Yeah,
single
I think
player
it's
will be
gonna
cool.
be pretty brutal.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I
And again,
it,
I just
yeah.
posted the trailer again in the chat room. So if you guys haven't seen it, it is set to a cover of Seven Nation Army, and it's like amazeballs. Like
Yeah.
it makes everything that we've kind of with all the modern advanced type stuff, we've almost grown to think it's not very threatening, like the tanks and the blimps and the just all the stuff they revealed in this trailer that we've kind of gone to, oh, that's old weaponry, it's not that bad, like, but with like the song and the pacing and the stuff that's happening around it, it's just kind of like, oh my god, like this stuff was deadly. And especially when you're not in armor that makes you practically like a mech, like these are literally just like soldiers in cotton shirts, like that's it. So
Yeah. It's pretty.
it's really brutal, and it makes you kind of appreciate a lot of the technology at the time.
Yeah, and it's kind of the birthplace of these large scale wars that most of these games are based off of or fictionally based off of. It kind of started with World War One, where it kind of was like, okay, we're gonna trench warfare, machine gun pits, mustard gas, and there's some interesting stuff there. And there's also the aspect that again, America enters the war at a later time in the war, so it'll be interesting to see what kind of focus they put on the allies, the British, the French, the Canadians being a very strong part of the British Army, and then the Americans joining, I think, like maybe 2 or maybe 1 year before it ended. And it's not like World War II, where you have that demonizing like Pearl Harbor moment where the Americans are like, oh yeah, it's happening. um so, oh, that's terrible. I mean, I guess it's long enough that we can say stuff like that. And Ben Affleck made a movie about it. I think it's
Yeah.
time. But I'm more looking forward to Battlefield One, just in terms of playing something different
Yeah.
from the futuristic shooter, where the additions they add to it is like a visor and fast moving jets and stuff. I'm looking forward to a more slower pace. And I mean, can you remember the last time you played a war game based in this time period, like World War One, two era? Like, it's been quite a while.
Yeah, it's been a really long time. So yeah, like I said, I'm all on the Battlefield train. I think
Mhm.
that it's gonna blow COD out of the water, but there's also a lot of people that love Call of Duty. So I think Call of Duty, their strength is always their multiplayer.
Mhm.
So we'll have to see what they end up doing for multiplayer, and if it's more along the lines of their traditional shooter multiplayer, then they'll probably do fine. But if they turn it into like Space Wars multiplayer, then I think a lot of people are going to be like, "What?"
I think there will be modes that use the space battles, but I
Hmm.
think we'll still get um, that
That
normal COD.
traditional COD multiplayer.
Yeah, you might have like low gravity battles and space battles, and then your ship battles. But I think there will always be, like, they're not throwing out the formula that makes them tons of money at
Hmm.
launch. Like, they're going to probably keep that. And Battlefield games do really well for themselves too. Like, you got Battlefront that did really well, and Battlefield 4 that once it got fixed did really well. So that's the other thing too, is that at least COD has a very good track record of launching not broken.
Mm-hmm.
So it'll be cool to see if Battlefield 1 launches with some polish, which it did not have with Battlefield 4 or even Battlefront. It had, no, actually that was pretty solid. But yeah, Battlefield 4, they took a licking on that one when
Yeah.
it came out. So
Very true.
Hmm.
All right, guys, I think that's pretty much it for tonight because I want to make sure that we have tons and tons and tons of time for game night. So we're going to cut the episode a little bit short. But I do want to remind everyone that we have CreateCon coming up in July. I believe it's July 30th, and that is down in Orlando, Florida. So, yeah, if you guys are interested in seeing, Ryan unfortunately won't be there, but I will be there.
Joss will be there.
We're going to do a live Gamers In, but it's going to be kind of a introduction to all of the panelists sort of Gamers In. So I'm going to host and do all the introductions for everyone who's going to be at the con. And then we're going to talk a little bit about like what their favorite games are outside of the Blizzard universe. And we're going to try to have some really cool discussions with people like obviously Garrett, Kyle, Dills. We're going to have Brian Brushwood and Justin Robert Young. We're going to have Tom Merritt. So we're going to get a lot of gaming opinions from people that you may not normally hear from. So
it's going to be great.
I'm really excited. So yeah, again, that is CreateCon. I'm not sure what's going to be streamed, but I do know everything's going to be recorded.
Mm-hmm.
So even if you can't be there, you'll be able to listen to it after the fact. So yeah, come and join us in Florida if you can. I believe it is createconvention. I should look it up.
It's on the amove.tv website, and it's just amove.tv/createcon, I believe.
All
and
right.
Yeah, it's gonna be awesome, and I would love to have come, but it's unfortunate that it's not unfortunate. Caden was born this year. It's been a very busy year, and I'm looking forward to you guys enjoying your time there because it's going to be a blast, and it's in very good hands. So I will be watching from home and looking forward to it. But yeah, definitely check out CreateCon. Go there. I think tickets are still available, so you've got
still
limited
some
time.
tickets. Yeah, so if you are thinking of coming, now is the time to pick up your ticket because they're going pretty quickly. I don't think that we have many left. So and as far as I know, VIP tickets are completely sold out, but there's still some general admission tickets that are available. So check it out. Again, amove.tv/CreateCon. It is on July 30th, which is a Saturday, and it is downtown in Orlando. So I look forward to seeing everybody who can make it out. I know that there's going to be a few people in the front row that I'm super excited to see again. I'm going to get to see Josh and Jim, which is going to be awesome. So
jealous.
Be jealous.
I am jealous. I have not met Josh yet, but Jim is a fantastic person, and everybody should meet both Jim and Josh and Joss. All the J's.
All of the J's. Triple J. Triple threat.
It's happening.
All right, that brings us to our listener feedback section, and we actually have something from Twitter. It says, we got a tweet to @thegamersin saying, my friends and I created a drinking game for every time Joss says like. She said it 182 times last show. Yikes.
Oh my gosh.
I feel like that has got to be a gross exaggeration. And also, I think that you can't count it if I say, oh, that sounds like, or that reminds me of something like, or anything where I'm comparing two things, as in this is just like that.
Yeah, and I also
I know I say it a lot. I am really, really bad. It is my go-to. It makes me sound like an idiot and a dumb blonde and a California whatever.
Oh no, you're being harsh. You're being
harsh.
No,
I understand. I know that it's a thing that I do, but 182 times in under an hour, there's no way.
I often say a lot of likes as well, and I hear myself doing it, but I can't stop myself. So I was thinking when I read this, it's like, man, Joss is not the only culprit of the like.
Of the liking?
Yeah, I do it, and I think it's still, after 218 episodes of this show and many other shows, it's still that like pause rather than just
you did it. It's still that like pause.
Again, it's like you can't. Damn it. He is wasted by now. I mean, that's what I said to him.
I know. I feel like I'm literally killing people if they're actually taking a drink every time I say like, and I don't want to kill anybody. So
I don't want to kill them either, but I told him like, I hope that you're like drinking from like a little sippy cup, like. Fair.
Oh,
Whatever it says. You know, I have some listener feedback Civ 6 quickly because I know you're a Civ person.
I
And
am.
get to Smite. Did you watch the trailer? It's got Sean Bean in it. It's gonna die at the end.
So I did watch the trailer, and I've got to say I'm really not excited because I watched the trailer and I kind of went, "That's the same as always." And I think it was Civ 3 that sucked me into the point that that was the only thing that I played forever. It was the one where you started it up, and then by the time you stopped playing, you realized that you started on Friday and now it was Sunday. Like, it was just crazy.
Well, the thing that got me is the trailer was more of a teaser because there was no gameplay. It was just maybe Sean Bean's going to be our narrator, which is awesome. I'm totally cool with that, and I love the jokes about him dying at the end, and that's one of the endings for Civ. I think that'd be interesting. But yeah, no, I want to see more of the game. They didn't release any gameplay, but the new
They
graphic
didn't.
system looks neat.
And
Um,
that's, I think, why I'm not excited is because they
mhm.
didn't actually tell us anything that's going to be different.
Mhm.
And Civ 3 was really compelling, and I played the crap out of that one. Civ 4, less so. Civ 5, even less so. Not because they were bad games, just because I guess my gaming time is more varied now. I play a lot of different titles, so spending 12 to 15 hours literally in one stretch playing one game isn't really something I do anymore, even in Warcraft. So I think that I would be more excited if they had showed me here's what's new in Civilization 6, because there was just nothing compelling to pull me in to say this is a reason why you need to play this over 4 or 5, because I even thought that Civ 4 and Civ 5 were very, very similar.
Yeah, and that's the thing. There's a huge article on IGN sort of detailing all the changes, which I couldn't get through because it was just so long, and I wanted to see the different. I'm like you, I wanted to see what was
Mm-hmm.
different, not read through an article just trying to sort it out. Yes, I'm lazy. But they basically state that the game is going to be, it's not going to be spaced out. You're going to have the complete Civ package at launch, and then maybe expansions will add the new stuff. But it's still the same issue as the other ones that keep coming out. It's like you're just remaking the game and little tweaks here and there. But anyways, I can't wait to see more because I do like Civ. But I'm like you, I might go play Civ 5 because I own
Yeah.
all of it. So
I own every Civ anything they've ever put out. I do love Civilizations. I love anything that Sid Meier's done. It's so good. I mean,
yeah.
Pirates? I played the crap out of Pirates too. That's another one
Yeah.
that I sunk hours and hours and hours in.
I need maybe I need to go back to Beyond Earth. Maybe that's something I should do.
That's true. Beyond Earth, I feel like I didn't do anything in.
We played one multiplayer game. I don't
Yeah.
think I gave it the justice it deserved because it felt very much like a Civ skin, and that kind of turned me off a little bit. But I might go back and give it another fair shake and see.
Man,
But
now I want to play Civilizations.
I,
Screw
th-
you, Smite.
I had the same situation today when I was discussing Civ 6 with somebody, and was kind of like, I kind of want to go play a strategy game.
Right?
Like, yeah, let's do that. And then Jim's like, play Stellaris. And I'm like, fine. Stellaris.
Just kidding, guys. We are totally playing Smite after this because it's been
Yeah.
a long time since I've been in that game. So that is what we were doing, which is going to do it for us tonight. You can visit us on the web at gamersinpodcast.com. You can find us on AMove TV along with other fabulous podcasts, including The Angry Nerd, Into the Nexus, Overwatchers. The Angry Chicken, and Joss versus the World. You can follow us on Twitter. You can find me, Jocelyn at Joss Plays, Ryan is at R Murphy, and don't forget to follow the show at The Gamers Inn. The video versions of all our episodes can be found on our YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/AMoveTV. I feel like I'm going to cough.
You need to break that up.
I know. You can also find the show on Facebook and Google+. If you'd like to email the show then and let us know what you think about Battlefield versus Call of Duty, you can do so at info@gamersinpodcast.com. So thanks for staying at the Gamers Inn, and remember, tune in next week. Bye, everybody.
Bye.